So random, but obviously this episode, Kevin and I spoke about the use of chopsticks, how it all started, and obviously things like if you go to dinner with your Asian friends, they'll offer you chopsticks. If you go with a white friend, they'll give him a spoon or a fork, him or her. What is your experience with chopsticks? Are you pretty proficient?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Because the techniques vary, as we've spoken about. So some people just use like a scissor technique, and others
I feel like we need
stab.
chopsticks in hand just to the audience can judge
Yep.
Yeah.
the technique, and that might be better.
Well, I've heard people talk about like a wrong technique and a right technique, but I'm not entirely sure what that means. I've heard that like, you know, if they cross, it's the wrong technique.
Yep.
But the way I do it is like I imagine that I'm holding a pencil with one chopstick and then I slide the other chopstick through and put it in between my third and fourth fingers. And so I kind of like use I hold that one in place and use the pencil one to squeeze and pick things up.
I think you have the right technique.
Yeah, that sounds like the right technique.
Which is totally opposite to my wife. Because the cross technique, you have no strength.
Yeah, there's no power.
Yeah. So you need to pick up anything heavy, you're in trouble.
Yeah, or a slippery dumpling. You just need to be able to control the power too. Sometimes you got to pick it up just right amount. Too much force and it slips right out.
That's it. And then the last thing on the chopsticks is, at what point do you just give up and say, screw it, I'm just going to use a spoon? Is that when you've got that last little bit of rice at the bottom?
Yeah, or soup.
Or that's when you just grab the bowl.
Yeah, true.
Trying to eat your soup with chopsticks.
Just turn your chopstick into a straw separately. Actually, I got another one for chopsticks. What's the superior material? Metal. Like the Korean ones use metal. Chinese use plastic usually, the restaurants, and then Japanese usually use wood.
See,
or bamboo. Yeah.
If we go through them all individually, obviously the metal ones are shit when they're hot because you will burn your mouth.
Yeah.
So the Korean ones, for me, are at the bottom. Now why does anyone know why they are metal?
I don't know.
I had to guess it'd go back to the war times. Because their utensils are usually metal. Like, the little bowl that they put
it's easy to clean, right? Nothing gets stuck in it and you can kind of just wipe it and...
Sure, true. They're like the most durable by far.
Yep.
Yeah. Have they actually been hot when you've been eating things before? Because I've never had that experience. Like, I've used, I guess, the metal chopsticks in...
Korean barbecue, yes. When you're like picking up meat and putting it there, sometimes you leave it there a bit too long and then...
Oh, true, yeah.
It hasn't burned me. I haven't had that experience like it eat inside, but it's definitely gotten warm to the point where like you put it on your tongue and like, ooh, that kind of singed. That's spicy.
I usually get done if you have a bibimbap and then the stone bowl, and then I just leave it in there if I'm talking to someone, and then I take it out. I'm like, maybe that's just me. And then I guess the next one is, so the Chinese mainly use the plastic chopsticks, which for me I think is the best substance.
Really? I was going to say it's the worst for me.
Well, again, cleanliness, because the worst thing is when you have the wooden ones and you're like, how many people have bloody been using this? And that goes to my head straight away every time. I'm
thinking about it at home.
At home.
When I'm at home, I always prefer the wooden ones.
Yeah, easiest to use.
Yeah, it gives me the best enjoyment of the food. You know how like when you drink Coke out of a
grip.
glass
It's got
bowl?
this superior grip.
It's got the grip. It's lightweight. Feels good in the hand. Good girth.
I like the metal ones. I like how they're like skinnier.
They're too skinny for me.
Sometimes they're flat as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like that.
It's easier. It's more like a spoon because you can kind of just like wedge it. I don't know.
The closer it is to a spoon.
Seems to be.
Should just eat with spoons.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, that's cool enough for the
So your team plastic.
I think so.
What about you? Metal.
Team metal. Yeah.
And I wood. Interesting.